So, all right, welcome everybody. Thanks for having me again, Kelsey. I am happy to be here. This is an interesting topic where we are going to look at AI tools today, and we are going to look at the difference between the paid version and the free version. And so you can kind of see which ones maybe might work for you in your world. We also will just kind of be actually kind of focusing in on throughout the day, like some really, really cool, maybe some uses of AI as well. So we'll kind of see what they can do. My goal is also to hopefully have some comparisons. So maybe we can like drop a prompt in. You can kind of see the differences between what one does, what the other one does, or what the free version does and what the paid version does, and how those might differ. But yeah, so that's kind of our game plan today. But yeah, welcome everybody. My name is Ben Sondgeroth, and I work as a regional ed tech coordinator in Illinois. And I used to be a history teacher and director of technology before that. And my world revolves around educational technology and technology in general. So AI has been very popular over the last couple of years, and so I've done a ton of trainings on it. And Kelsey has always wanted to promote really interesting topics and ask me interesting topics and questions. And this was one of her ideas, I think. We were talking about doing some AI stuff, and she was like, "What about free versus paid?" And so I was happy to deep dive into it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to have the conversation today, and I would love for questions. I am as much of an expert as I could on this topic. One of the things, and Kelsey and I were just talking even before we started the webinar, is that they update so fast. And so like while I hope to know as many of the things as possible, there's undoubtedly like probably something you might read in a blog or you might watch in a YouTube video where you're like, he didn't talk about that. And that's because these tools are evolving so fast. They're adding in new things. They're adding in new updates, new features, new models, and it just blows my mind how they do. So we're going to do as best we can to kind of talk about this great debate. Do you get by on the free version, or do you invest in the paid version? So that's our goal here. So the tools we're looking at, and this is actually an image that I created with ChatGPT Plus. And so what we're looking at is we're looking at three different models today. So the three models that I chose to kind of focus on are kind of the core three models that exist out there in the AI universe right now. And that's going to be ChatGPT, Google Gemini, and Claude. And so I'll be honest, I don't have the paid version of Claude. That's not one that I use a lot. I don't even use the free version a lot. I've heard great things about it. I researched it so I can speak to it. But my focus and expertise is more in the OpenAI world with ChatGPT and certainly the Gemini world. So we'll talk about how each one of these interacts, what they're good at, what they're not good at. But I want to start with this. I'm actually going to now get out of the screen and I'm going to go into this prompt where I created this image, because this is actually something that you can do inside of ChatGPT Plus. So before I go to get into some of the technical aspects of how ChatGPT Plus is different than the ChatGPT free version and all that, one of those main differences is actually the ability to create images and to create lots of images. With the free version, you're limited in the amount of images that it'll create. It's limited in the amount of data that it will let you upload in a given setting, in a given day. With the paid version, you get more of that. And so one of the things I thought would be fun was I asked it to create an image of ChatGPT, Google Gemini, and Claude depicting the chatbots in human form standing out looking over an open field. And this is what it gave me the first iteration. Now, if you have the free version, this is pretty much going to be the end of this activity. Like you could ask it maybe for one more image, and then it's going to say you're out of data use for the day. You can't go any further. But with the paid version, we can keep asking it. So I didn't really like this one. I thought, well, let's include the text, right? And so we asked it to know who's who. So then it created the text and put the text at the top, even though like I don't know what Claude is up there, but that's AI. It's not creating stuff that's perfect by any means. And I said, that was great, but let's try to make them more human and representative. So they made this one, but you did forgot the text. Then it made this one. I actually kind of liked this one, even though it screwed it up because it went ChatGPT, Google Gemini. So it kind of messed it up. But I asked it, why did you pick them the way that you did? And so this is actually an example of what you can go deeper with ChatGPT 4.0, and that's the paid model. It'll actually like tell you why, and it will go into more detail than what the free version did. And this is kind of fun because this actually shows what each one of these tools is good at. And so I'm going to start with this. because this might actually lead you to figure out why you would want to pick Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude, but we're using it as an image. And ChatGPT did a really good job actually summarizing here what I was researching about each one of these models. So it envisioned ChatGPT as a confident, articulate man in his early 30s, dressed in a sleek modern suit. The suit symbolizes structured yet flexible nature. The circuitry hints that it's AI-driven intellect, and its adaptability, polished conventional skills, and broad knowledge base. And that's actually like how ChatGPT is viewed in the AI world, is that it is kind of the buttoned up, polished, conventional person that you're talking to. Or AI that you're talking to, and it has a very broad knowledge base. So I thought that was really interesting that like that's how they decided to depict it in the picture, right? And that's one of the things when you're looking at ChatGPT versus Gemini versus Claude. If you're looking for that more like very buttoned up professional responses, ChatGPT is really good at that. And when you have the paid version of this tool, it gives you more options to expand on those things. So that was really kind of interesting. I thought just this like kind of crazy activity of like just make these as pictures turned into like a pretty good introduction to like what each one of these AI bots is good at. So Gemini is Google's AI chatbot. And this one was really interesting because Gemini is designed for multimodal capabilities, which means that it can handle text, images, coding, and more. So while I was able to create, let's put a kind of a quick pause. I was able to create an image in ChatGPT. ChatGPT is technically, and we might have some more technicalities in this session than I normally do in my other sessions. ChatGPT is technically using another AI system to generate that image. So it's using DALL-E, which OpenAI also owns, to create that image and then bring it in. So it's more like you can equate it to ChatGPT is me, and I need a picture. So I'm going to ask Kelsey to create the picture for my presentation. She's going to make the picture for me, and then I'm going to put the picture into my presentation. That's kind of how ChatGPT works with like DALL-E as like the separate person that's making the image, and then it just brings it into their information. Gemini does it all. So Gemini has this multimodal capability of like creating images. It can also text, it can code, all that stuff. So what it did was it wanted to capture that by making it a blend of both human and technological and elements. Like, again, just kind of really was kind of fun and interesting. And then Claude, again, something that I know is 100% true. It depicted it as a scholarly, refined man in his 40s wearing a classic vest and round glasses. That's because Claude is actually thought of as the most eloquent writer of all of the chatbots. So if you're looking for a tool that is based on the best amount of writing, so maybe like you're in marketing, Claude is actually like one of the better models to use. It is understood to kind of be the most authentic human sounding artificial intelligence. So when it, decides to put it as more academic, old world aesthetic, the other thing is Claude is also known as potentially or probably the safest AI tool. It's built on a lot of safety principles, and more so than like OpenAI's is, and more so than Gemini is, which you can also like put as like refined, academic, following the rules, more. So I don't know. I thought that was an interesting way that I could hopefully like open you guys and everybody that's watching up to understanding maybe what these chatbots are, what they're good at, and it all comes from a picture. Now, I also say like this is a very young looking 40-year-old. Like that dude is very, very much not in his 40s, but whatever, that's fine. But kind of fun. So those are the three that we're going to focus on. I will give a shout out to Microsoft Copilot as well. I didn't include that one. We just don't have time to cover all of them. One of the things that I'll talk about with Copilot quickly is if you are in a Microsoft environment, investing in Copilot could be the way to go. I've gotten to experience it. Maybe if we have time, I can open it up and kind of show some stuff because I do have the Copilot version now that I'm thinking of. Like I got to experiment it with it when I worked with a district. And one of the things that it does is it integrates into PowerPoint. It integrates into Microsoft Word. And so if you are in a Microsoft environment, looking into Copilot would be something that you would maybe potentially want to do. The reason why I didn't maybe necessarily think to go all in on Copilot is because its foundational core is actually ChatGPT. So when you're asking Copilot things, it's a lot like you're working in ChatGPT 4.0. So they're very, it's identical. Microsoft just underwrote a big portion of OpenAI's budget. Like they invested, I think, like $20 billion into it to use their tool. So anywho, so those are the three and the four that we're going to discuss. Go ahead.
Does Copilot then have the same sort of limitations on how many interactions or like the capacity? Or is
That's a really good because Copilot is ingrained inside of like your Microsoft license. And so yep, there we go. So we've got our quotas and our limits for Copilot Studio here. So this would be about the same type of thing, right? So like it's going to allow you to use Studio web app limits, so 8,000 characters, so that's pretty low comparatively to others. You can upload 500 files though, that's quite a bit. Subscription limits, just looking at these kind of numbers here. This is pretty detailed stuff in there.
Another question for you, just
Yeah.
thinking about those that were creating things. Tell me more about, is there one of those tools that is better at taking a text and photo combination? As you're saying, the AI is not good at that. And I'm finding that time and time again, if I'm trying to have a poster created or anything like that, that you just can't depend on any of the text. The visuals might be great, but the text is garbage.
Garbage. And there's actually a very good reason for that. Well, there's actually, yeah, I have a very good answer for that. And the reason, and it's amazing how much better it's actually gotten. So the reason is actually in how the AI works. So, in my last session, when we talk about, or one of my previous sessions, when we talk about how AI works, I use the Lego analogy of all the Lego bricks being distributed across, and that's all pieces of information. And then it assembles the Lego bricks into piece of information that's text, and that's generative AI. That analogy actually works perfectly with image creation. And it also shows why it's really difficult for image generators to create text, because image generators are designed to create images, and they are using the same Lego brick analogy where a picture of a man is put into it and it's broken up into pieces. And then it's assembled brick by brick from all the other pieces of like other men that it thinks, if you're trying to get an image of a picture of a man. Well, think about trying to spell a word with Legos, like in a Lego landscape, right? If you have a wall of Legos and you tried to write a word in it, it would be very pixelated and broken because you're stuck with all of the Legos. That's because that's how AI actually generates the images, is it builds it pixel by pixel. And therefore, when it gets to text, it's very hard to like figure out, it can't really figure out like, how do I put that text in, because it's not a language model, it's an image generator. And so it's trying to assemble those little bitty pixels into words, and it's not really working. And I think I'm going to go with just a guess here, but if you look, Google's really good. And I'm wondering, and Gemini's really good. And if I just look at like Google's logo, like that looks as an image a lot like this, because there could be an image of Google, the logo that's been trained on. So it's able to kind of like pixelate it in because of those images, right? So that's just maybe something that is why Google might be like better than say like Claude or, these random scribbles that are on this guy's vest pocket, right? But that's why it's actually really difficult to get images that have text in them, because they struggle to do that. So they've gotten a lot better though, but it's still a struggle. So yeah, really good question. All right. So here's our best use case. And we actually kind of covered all these things, but I'll just kind of throw it out. But if you are looking for a large language model, one of these models to use, okay, these are kind of the core elements as to what some of the best use cases are. So if you're looking at ChatGPT, what it's best for is known as like general AI use, asking questions, prompting it to do activities. It's really good at writing code. So if you are, writing code or needing to write code, it's very good at that. It also is increasingly good at helping you with creativity and coming up with new ways to look at things. And then obviously writing. So it is very professional in its written tone, and it's really good at crafting longer works than, say, something like Gemini, okay, is. Now, Claude, along with, as I said before, its ability to, write very well, actually has the ability to analyze longer documents. So again, we kind of look at that like the academia side of this. Like, like if you are in that academia world, like Claude is the one that might resonate the most with you because it does have the ability to, if you have the paid version, to have it upload larger documents, can analyze those, it can give you information on it. It also has a little bit more capable, what's known as reasoning. And so this is a new thing that AI models are now able to do. If I was to give this talk a year ago, I would have said one of the things that AI can't do is reason. And now that's not the case. AI can reason, at least to a limited capability. So ChatGPT 3.0 is its reasoning model. And Claude also 3.5 Sonnet has the ability to have some reasoning elements in it with legalities and technical stuff. So, but Claude is not good at writing code. So if you are, it can and it will, it's just not the best version of that. So those are some of the things that it's good at. Now, Gemini is the one I actually use for work because I work in a Google ecosystem. So my day revolves around Gmail, Docs, Slides, Calendar, Sheets, all the Google tools. And Gemini integrates perfectly into all of those systems. And so that's why I'm drawn to it over, say, the other models, just because it is fully integrated into my ecosystem. I don't have to have extensions or anything like that. It's just there and it works. And that's really cool. The other thing that Gemini is good at is if you have the plus version, it remembers. And so you can have a chat that you started with it a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, and you can open it back up and you can pick up right where it left off. So that's like Kelsey and I having a conversation last year at about this time. So we're going into Ben GPT here, paid version, of her getting ready to go to Disney. And I could just pick up in that conversation because I remember we were talking about that and she was getting ready to go to Disney and now we're in that conversation. That's like what the Gemini is really good at. The other models also have history in them, but they don't save it for as long. So like if you're not actively using that chat, it might not be able to recall that information after a certain amount of time. I'm not sure what that length is for ChatGPT and Claude, and Gemini even times out after a while, but it has a longer term memory. So you can kind of save those chats, pin them, go back to them when you need them. So just some of the better use cases of them. Now, pricing, they're all the same. They haven't really increased. They're all $20 a month. So like, it's like, well, which one do you want to spend $20 a month on is kind of how it comes down to. So you have ChatGPT Plus, Claude Pro, and Gemini Advanced are your kind of three models or plan names here. You might be able to get some discounts with Gemini. Like you can get a free trial month if you have a Google One plan. They'll allow you to get a free trial month, so you can maybe open that up, give that a test. I believe there might be a discount uh, on the plan as well if you have a Google One. I actually just saw that as I was looking through and trying to figure some stuff out for this, and I have a Google One subscription, so I was like, that's interesting. But what do you get access to? So each one of these things, when you pay for them, and we'll go into this in more detail, but you get essentially you get a lot faster speeds. So you get more data, you get faster speeds, you get like the deeper integration with Gemini, and you always get their most advanced model. And so you've heard me say the word model a bunch, and that's because they're releasing new updates. So think of it like an update. Think of it like your software on your phone, right? So like every time Apple releases a new update, your phone gets better, it gets faster, it gets, you go from 16 to 17 to 18, and it just keeps going on and on and on. That's what they're doing with these models too. So Gemini actually just went from 1.5 to 2.0 Flash last week. Like it literally updated last week. ChatGPT 4 Turbo is the one they're currently on. We were on 3.5 for a long time. We went to 4.0, I want to say May of last year. And then they just launched 4 Turbo within the last couple of weeks, maybe a month. Like it's pretty new as well. So You get some different, you get a lot of these key kind of components when you do go with the paid versions, and we'll dive into those here.
One more question for you. Maybe it
But
says, just thinking about security, people I think are nervous about putting their information in, or is there one of them as better? Is that going to be something you're going to talk about?
so yeah, I mean, that's a good question. One of the things that is interesting about like you pay and they give you better information on where your data goes. So like I believe in like ChatGPT. I want to say this. I'm like 90% certain in the settings, you can go in as a paid user and kind of dictate what they get access to and what they don't. Like I think you can kind of turn off the faucet back to them and say, like, I don't want this information to train your model. And then the free version, that's not possible. Gemini, same thing. Gemini in the paid version, it's a one, like you can say that you know, and I know if you get it Gemini for workspace, so it's a part of your business, that is a block. Like they'll stop, they won't take your data. So when you put a chat in, it's not going to Google to train their model. So that is a little safer as far as data sets are concerned, especially like if we have any educators that are going to watch this, like the education version of Gemini stops that and won't take the information back to Google. So it kind of just keeps a block. So the information comes in, but your information doesn't go out and train the model. So yeah, there are better data security systems built into the paid versions. So if that is something you're concerned about, definitely one of the ways you might be able to justify the $20 a month. There's a lot of technical jargon on this table here. I'm not going to go through and read all of these things because that would be very boring. But just a couple of like high level notes from this. The context link here in tokens is something that I've even like tried to really try to wrap my brain around, and it's hard, but it's essentially like how much information can the AI process during each one of your plans. So it would essentially like, we'll break it down to like a token, like you're putting a token literally into like a video game here at the arcade. The more tokens you put in, the more you get to play the video game. But if that video game got to a point where it was just like, nope, it's only accepting 100 tokens today, and you put in the 100th token, and then the video game would shut off. And that's what you get when you get the paid version. So you can see the difference between the free versions down here and the paid versions are vast. So especially in Gemini, like this is all about the information you can give back to it to analyze. So one of the advantages of Gemini is that you could even upload, say, like an entire book into Gemini and say, I need a full breakdown, chapter by chapter summary of this book. And it's capable of doing that because it has the ability to contextualize all of that information and give it back to you. Whereas ChatGPT can do that, but not near. Like we're talking 1 million versus 128,000. So ChatGPT can experience large amounts of text, but not near the vast amount of text and information that Gemini can. So if you are in the business of big time data analyzation, then Gemini Advanced might be the one for you. So it's a very interesting, again, deep dive into some of this stuff, but I thought that was really cool. You know, and then I know there might be some people in here with like coding. And one of the things that is interesting is that Gemini is not very good at that. Like it's fine. It's, you know, listed as moderate in this table here, but it's okay. But I actually was talking to a tech director who is a really good programmer last week or the week before, and he was writing Google Apps scripts, which is coding inside of Google tools to make them do things automatically. And he said he asked Gemini for help in writing a code for its own system, and it wasn't good at it. He had to actually go to ChatGPT and have ChatGPT write the code for the Google Apps script, and it was better than the one that Gemini had. So that was kind of interesting. Like Gemini wasn't even good at coding its own Google things comparatively. So, so if you're a coder, Gemini might not be for you, but if you are, you know, if you're not interested in code, that's not going to be a big deal. So interesting stuff here for sure in this table. Let's break it down now. Let's go in a little bit more detail here. What do you get with these plans? So ChatGPT has 3 different levels. They've got the free version.
I'm just checking. I thought somebody
Yep.
might have had a question in the room. Did somebody have a question? Okay, I think we're good to go. Keep going.
Okay. So there's 3 different plans with ChatGPT: free version, the plus version, and the pro version. From what I've researched, the pro for $200 a month, you're gonna really, and that's not even for like a team, that's like just you. The one big like thing that you get is you get access to Sora, which is their video generator. So you can go in and you can open up Sora and you can create with the Chat GPT Plus version, you can create videos. But with the free version or with the plus version, where you're paying just the $20 a month, you're only able to you're only able to get 10-second video clips. So like this is a video clip that I made. My prompt was create a video of a drone flying over a golf course at sunset with the ocean off. And there are golfers on the course enjoying the evening round. Now, it's pretty cool. It's not very good because there's like a bazillion golfers out here. And then actually the next one's kind of funny because like they all start like multiplying like it's a video game like in there. So I don't know where all those people are coming from, but that was very bizarre. If you are interested in using AI for video creation, the best way to do that is the pro version where you get more than 10 seconds. Like I think you can go up to like 5 minutes. You can have it create like 5 minute long videos. I've dove into that very much. I don't know great use cases for that, but you know, it's there. So the biggest difference is some of these things is we're looking at some of the strengths of these things. Again, we've talked about some of this stuff, but we are able to get some really cool fast responses here. So I'm going to go into we get fast responses. It also works across a lot of different avenues. Like, so if you are trying to build it into your platform, you can have OpenAI's API that does that too. Again, kind of getting a little technical today, but it's just not as big of a, you know, its weakness does come in that it can't do as much with as much content as some of its other competitors can. Now, what you do get is you get you get multiple models that are good at different things. So one of the things that if you are in like a STEM field or scientific reasoning, its newest model is called ChatGPT 301. And what this is designed to do, and you can see when you're in ChatGPT, you can go up to your models up here and you have the O1 model here. And then you have your O3 mini and your O3 mini high. You can actually go all the way to like ChatGPT 4o mini and a legacy model 4. So you have all these different models that you can actually switch between based on the task that you want to perform. And the one that's interesting about the O1 model is that it will reason an answer out. So this is really advanced stuff. And I hope people watch this find this interesting because I do. Like one of the things that computers can't do or couldn't do is they're very black and white. Like you give them a question, they give you an answer. That's different than a human. Like if you ask me a question, like if my son asks me, Dad, I want to watch YouTube. My brain goes through all these different scenarios and options of the response that I can give him. Yes, go down and watch YouTube. No, you can't watch YouTube. Yes, you can watch YouTube, but you have to watch YouTube Kids. Yes, you can watch YouTube, but you can only watch YouTube for 20 minutes, like on and on and on. And then as a parent, I use the human element of reason to go through and decide which one of those responses is the best one to provide in that moment. Like he watched YouTube all day. No, like he's not, you know, you can't watch YouTube right now. Oh, he just went outside and played with his friends for 4 hours. Sure. Yes, you can. So I used reason to give the right answer for that situation. That's what this model can do. It actually develops multiple responses and then runs through and picks which one of them is going to be the best one for the use case that you have given it. It's really pretty wild. So I'm trying to think of a good example here. I think I gave it one. I asked it for some examples the other day. That's not what I wanted. Maybe I did a different one, but so go back. So if we go to the O1 model, I can say run a comparison on 3D printing slicer software. I hope this works. I'm just running this offline. So you see, it goes into reasoning here. Oh, it already went through it. It didn't even give me my two options. Sometimes it's pretty fun. It actually like puts up two windows and it says, which one do you want? Right. And it reasons back and forth and tells you like, which one example do you want? I was actually doing this just here. Here you go. Here's an example of that. This was actually in 4.0, but this is a kind of a breakdown of this. Like I was trying to mess around with a picture of me in my Mandalorian armor that I 3D printed because I'm a nerd. But I wanted to see if I could get it to create an image of me like in the suit in a different area, and it didn't. Like it gave me two different responses. Now what the reasoning does, we'll just kind of figure out which one I wanted and it would just give it to me. So like when I have that 3.0 model or 01 model, I'm sorry, then it would actually go through and reason back and forth and provide me the right answer. So that's pretty crazy that machines can do that. If you're sitting there like, well, Ben's way over my head today, like, yeah, sorry, it's kind of like a crazy, it's a big topic today.
When
Now the
the
mini
reasoning is
model.
happening though, like, are you giving feedback? Like, no, that's actually not the reasoning I would use. And then it learns more of what you're seeking out of that, or is it has its own reasoning and this decisions are based on other formats than your.
So you can, it's based on its own training, but it does in the paid version learn what you like. So it will start like you can start like training it to sound like you, like because it remembers. So and it also in the paid version, and I think this is just ChatGPT Plus in general in 4.0 and it's in 01. But like the more you ask it questions, the more it learns about you. And so if you have it keep writing for you and you keep telling it like, no, I need that to be more professional, it will, or you're like, no, take out those words. I don't say those words. It will start to remember those things and include those across chats, not just the one silo chat that you're in, which is pretty crazy too, that it's able to do that. It's truly like designed to be your assistant that's living with you and like working with you at all times. Yeah, it's pretty great. Now, the O3 mini model, this could actually be one that was more like if you are a person that's more like environmentally conscious and you're like, I don't like these AI machines. They're taking tons of access, tons of water, tons of power. These mini models are actually designed to be faster, but not use as much power. So they're not like as robust of the 4.0 turbo and the 01 models, but if you use one of the mini models, they maybe don't have as much depth that you can go into with them, but so you're not going to get as advanced of answers, but they're a little more conscious and like they don't use as much power as they're smaller models, so it's not as big. So it's kind of like going to I would equate it to like you go to the library in your small town and it's like you've got a lot of information in there, but then you go over to the University of Minnesota and you go into their library and you're like, whoa, there's a lot going on here. Like you can research at your local library and you can get the answers, but if you go to a university library, you're just going to have access to tons more stuff and you're going to be able to do it, but it's going to take a lot more effort out of you because you got to walk all over the place, you got to find the books, you got to find all the stuff because it's bigger, right? So that's kind of a way you can kind of equate these like mini models to the bigger models. So you do get access to these things with ChatGPT Plus. So that's something that I wanted to kind of make sure we included. All right. So some of the fun stuff. So I kind of picked through, I was like, okay, what are my kind of extras here that I want to go into a little bit more detail with when you're talking about what you get with these. So with ChatGPT, what you get is you do get the ability inside of ChatGPT to create what are called projects. And so it's essentially like your way of organizing ChatGPT, because when you have the free version of ChatGPT, you notice I don't have projects over here. So when I make a chat, it just goes down in a linear, like I just got to find all the stuff that I'm using in a row, right? But if I'm in the paid version, I'm able to like say like workouts. And then now I can create that project. And then within this project, I can have multiple chats, multiple files, and they're all organized. So it's just like you have a folder on your computer, put stuff into, you can organize it a little bit better. So that's something that is like a pretty something that a lot of people wanted for a long time out of these AI tools, and something you get, but you have to pay for it. So that's one that's really cool. Another really neat feature of this are what are called GPTs. So these are custom versions of ChatGPT that either you can make or other people have made, and they are specific to a task or to a thing that you want to do. And so you can see, like, you can go through and look at some of these. Like, here's an AI video maker, a form and survey maker. These are all ones that other people have created and put. Like, here's a logo creator. So if you're looking, Kelsey, for like images, like maybe this was one because this person created this to like design logos. And you can go in, you can start the chat with it. Like, need a logo for my buddy's golf trip called Rip It and Rip It. So this is not one that I made, but because I have access to ChatGPT Plus, it's asking me too many questions here. I don't want to do all this, but you get the idea. It's pretty cool. Like, it goes through and it's going to ask me all these things, and I'm going to have to go through. And so I want a 4, we'll go 5 and C. We'll see what we get. Blue, yellow, and orange. Oh, I love that. I mean, when does yellow fit in with, I don't know. We'll see. But anyways, these custom GPTs, I'm very curious to see this color palette here come to life. I mean, maybe. Like, I'm all in on blue and orange as an Illinois fan, but so these custom GPTs, people can make them, and then you don't have to do a lot of the prompting. It's not too bad. I see how they mix the orange with like the sun in the back and everything, but there you go. That's actually pretty good on the text too.
Then say the words look like words and not
Yeah,
words
that's
you
really
didn't
good.
spell. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's fun. So with these GPTs, there's a bunch of them here that you can go through and you can explore, and you get access to them all when you have a paid version. Now, the thing that you can also do is you can create your own GPT. So this is creating your own chatbot that works in a way that is personalized to the information that you give it. So as an example, I built one, and I actually have this where I'm going to show you how this also works in Gemini, because I actually use this in Gemini. So I built one that was similar for ChatGPT just to see. So my chatbot or my ChatGPT or my GPT here is actually designed to give me titles and descriptions for tech workshops based on specific information that I gave it. So when I trained this, I gave it all the information. Let's see if it shows. So I gave it all these very specific instructions, like only 3 to 8 sentences, clearly outline the topic, like explain the event's importance. Like, these are all super, like, actually our marketing team dictated all this stuff to us. So I put it all into here. So now when I go in and I say, I want to do a 3D printing workshop, I don't have to prompt it with all of that extra information. It just knows that I want a title for a workshop and a description, and this should fit within the rules that I provided it. So it just makes life a lot easier because you don't have to say, like, make me a workshop title and description for a workshop on 3D printing. Keep it concise, 3 to 8 sentences. Nope. Just type in a 3D printing workshop. Now I could also say, like, a workshop on AI. And there it goes. So you can make these custom GPTs, and you can actually go really big with these things. Like, I watched one where a tech director actually had it set up to connect into all of his systems. And all he had to do was go into his GPT, type in what's the status of our network systems right now. And it was able to connect to all of them and say, like, the student information system up, internet up, like, and just tell him all of the things that were working. And that was his report for the day. So he didn't have to go through and like open up all the programs to see if they're all working. He just went into here, typed it in, and off it went. So you do a lot of really cool stuff with this. You can train it on a lot of really interesting information. But that is definitely one of the benefits of having ChatGPT Plus is building out your own GPTs. And then you can also share them with people. Now, the sharing is a little complex. You have to publish it into the GPT store. So I can share it, but I have to share it publicly. So I can't like just give it to Kelsey. I have to like if I share it, anybody can access it. So you have to be careful about that, which is a bit of a drawback, but something that's there. So those are some of the fun ones. I already showed you Sora. The other one and the last one, because it's already 12:42 and I want to make sure we get into Gemini, is the voice mode. Um, and if I start talking, it's going to start talking back, but it is really fun. It's when you pay, you have some access to this with the free version, but it's not as conversational. This is actually really bizarre to use, but it's fun. Like it will now translate for you as well. So like if I'm speaking to somebody that's speaking Spanish, I can open up ChatGPT, set it down on the desk, say, I need you to translate this conversation between myself and this person who's speaking Spanish, and it will be the translator back and forth for you. Which is really neat. It'll also just sit there and converse with you. So one of the things I just did is I was out, let's see if I can find it. There we go. So I was out in my garage and, I like to hunt and I'm processing deer meat this weekend, turning it into sausage. And I was pulling out all of the bags of deer meat out of my freezer and weighing them. And so I opened up my phone, I hit the voice assistant. I said, can you keep a running tally of all these weights for me? And so I just started saying like 8, 6, and so it was 14, 21, 28, like 34. Like I just kept weighing bags and saying like the number and it tallied it all up for me. So I didn't have to like type it into my phone. I just had it open. It was sitting on the shelf and I just kept yelling out numbers and it kept a running tally to me. So that was really cool, and the other thing that we've done with it too is we've actually opened it up and asked it to create like trivia games and had it become the MC of the trivia. So like I did that with my son. That was a lot of fun. So it's very conversational with the paid version. It's supposed to sit there and talk to you as you go about your day, which is pretty, or like when you need to interact with it, and it'll do that. So pretty neat stuff. Moral of all that, ChatGPT Plus is pretty epic. It does a lot of really cool things. The one thing that is its drawback is the integration across tools. So I know Kelsey, you had mentioned that. I believe there are Chrome extensions that you can use that integrate it into different aspects of it, of your like kind of world that you're working in. I'll be honest, I haven't experimented with those a whole lot. I know they exist. I'm not 100% certain that OpenAI is the one that created it. Maybe they were, but that would be something I would double, triple check, like
They don't look
to
like
make
they are. They look like they're created by something else.
yeah, something else created it and then sending it to OpenAI, which then is like, okay, then what are you doing with my data? Right? Like that's what I want to know. Like, okay, you can see my screen, cool. What are you doing with that now? Right? Like, so something to be aware of, for sure. All right, I got 15 minutes. We're going to talk about Gemini now. Okay, so Gemini is Google's version of this. And you do get quite a bit more when you pay for Gemini. So you can see when I took my screenshot, they were using the first month free. So that's cool because ChatGPT doesn't offer like a first month free. So if you are interested in Gemini Advanced, and this could be maybe because I have Google One, I think that might be the case. So I don't know if it's free for everybody, but just something that, check it out. But what you get is a lot more depth and breadth of the Google integration with Gemini. And so you get that bigger amount of storage, you get a bigger amount of those, like you say here, like you see like uploads of up to 1,500 pages that you can put into a document. Now I have had it though, like tell me I'm over my limit on slideshows. So like I've run into like some instances where it's like, yeah, man, you can't do that. That's too big of a file. There's a little bit of a workaround with that I'm actually going to show you guys with this, but that is something I've been like, wait a second, I'm supposed to be able to put a lot of stuff in here, but if I think the slideshows have the images in them, and that might just take it over the top in a file sense of how big it is, but document wise, the way I've gotten around that is actually like taking the Google slideshow, download it as a PDF and uploaded the PDF, and then it works. So that's pretty cool. Let me just put a pause. One last thing in ChatGPT. It does connect to your Google Drive or your Microsoft OneDrive to analyze files. So I could, and I have done this, where I've brought information in from my Google Drive and asked it to integrate. So like I can go in. I just did that. Yes, I know you already have access. That's why I'm trying to get into it. All right. Well, maybe this doesn't want me to do that. Oh, okay. Here we go. All right. Not going to do my taxes. That's not something we're gonna do. About name. So we'll find my AI presentations. We'll put this one in. So you can connect like PowerPoints, PDFs, documents, and put them into ChatGPT. And with the free version, you get a very limited amount that you can do that with. With the paid version, you get that more data that you can do. This is taking forever to do that, but just trust me that you can put it in and then you can start asking it questions about that file. So one of the things I've done is put in presentations and then say, create a workbook that participants can take notes alongside my presentation based on the information in this slideshow. Does it instantly, which is pretty cool. And this is taking too long. So we've probably, oh, there it is. Oh, I'm still in the reasoning model too here. So let's see. So it reasoned for 5 seconds. So there we go. We got a little bit of the reasoning here. We got to see some of that in action. So see, I was on the wrong model for good. So it created my outline of everything that I've been talking about, and it's still going. So kind of fun, to kind of mess around with there too. But Gemini does that same thing as well. But ChatGPT does it too. So I just want to kind of say that. So anywho, what can Gemini do? We already talked about a lot of this stuff, so I won't spend too much time on this slide. The biggest thing is that for my money in this is the integration across all of your Google tools. So whether that's search, which you do get for free, but you get a little bit better search results on like your Google Gemini when you have that in there. The other thing is the integration across all the tools. So I'll switch over to work here. You can see if I go into my Gmail, I have Gemini that opens up right here. And I can open up any email and I can say, I don't know the necessarily, we'll go here and I can say, summarize what this email, can't spell, thread was about. And then it just does it. It knows it can read it. There it is. Jeffrey Housey inquired about all this. Ben Sondgeroth recalled scene one. He expressed gratitude for the assistance. So that's nice. I actually use that quite a bit when I'm going back and forth. I'm asking people things, talking to people, summarizing conversations. That is something that I use quite frequently. So having it ingrained in the Google Apps is really cool. Another example of that is inside of Google Slides. You can actually have it, and I know Copilot does this in PowerPoint as well. But inside of this, I can say create a slide on the benefits of flying a drone in for students. And then inside of, you can't do this inside of Gemini, the actual chatbot, but just inside of Gemini Advanced in the Google Slides, it will create a slide that I can then insert into my presentation based on the information that I asked it. So it takes just a second, but it comes up, there it is. And with the images as well.
So that's an interesting thing that it has a text and images. So if you were really wanting to use a tool to do that, you could use this even as a tool.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I've used this to create entire presentations. Like, I'm just brainstorming with it. I'm like, hey, I need a slide on this. Does it. Like, and it's there and it's got a picture, it's pretty great. So there's that. But the other one that's also just more of an advanced tool that you can use is that you can actually use, and again, this is if you're a full-on Google user, click on any picture inside of Slides, and then you can hit remove background, and it'll do AI background removal on the picture right inside of the slide. So you don't have to like take it over to like Canva and remove the background or anything like that. It's just all right here, and it'll remove that background for you. Or you can, we'll put it back and there it is.
All the slides that it creates, you can edit all of it, right? The text to the picture. You can go.
Oh yeah. I can go in. I don't think I have any in this presentation, but yeah, if I just would hit insert, it would have dropped it right in. It's just normal text. It's pictures. It's just like any other slide that I made. It just did it for you. So if you're like in in a funk and you can't remember, like, I just don't know what to talk about, like, type it in. And then if you're like, I don't like that, you hit try again and it does it, get you another one, you know? So that's really cool. Inside of Sheets, this is a bad Google sheet for that, but this is just a sign-in sheet here. But you can actually open this up and you can ask it for different things like generate a chart, analyze the information in here. You can also say, I need a function to do that does this, and it'll create the function for you. You know, I've used that before where somebody actually asked me, they said, we need a function that will sort student names based on birthday, but I don't remember. It was some like crazy, like advanced, like way of like sorting via birthday. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. Let's ask Gemini. And I did it and gave me it. And all of a sudden, boom, did it. Like I didn't have to like brainstorm it. Just it was there. So that's a really cool thing that it just kind of floats inside and it's completely integrated into your Google experience, which is something that I find to be very powerful. When we're talking about the chatbot in general, some of the things that stand out, you see here, this is one where I did want to have an example ready to go for you guys on like creating the outline. So like, here's the outline. Here's the Google slideshow. When you have the free version of this, the only thing you can upload in the free version of Gemini are images, not files or anything from your Google Drive. So that's a big difference between the paid and the free. Like, so you can put a picture up and say like, analyze what's happening in this picture, and it'll do that. Unless the picture has people in it, then it won't, because it doesn't want pictures of people. So you could get around that by like taking a screenshot maybe of a document, which I've done, you know, like taking pictures of things and put it in and it'll analyze it. You say, break this down, translate this text. Like it'll take, if you have pictures of text, it'll do it. But this is much easier to say like, here's my slideshow. Here's my PDF, you know, break this down for me, create these things based on it. So it'll do that for you, which is pretty neat. One of the examples here that I had, was it this one? I was just using this today. So, oh no, this was the one that I wanted to do. So yeah, so I started with the outline. My task was actually like, I needed to give an outline of a presentation to a superintendent to see what I was going to talk about. So I asked it for the outline. Like, I don't like how that looks. So I just kept refining it, like reduce the number of bullet points and add some summary context to the main each topic. So it's able to remember like what I have, what I was withdrawing on there. And then I didn't like that all the way. So I said, rephrase this. And it was able to keep going. And then I said, you know what, let's do a different presentation. Put a new presentation in, kept asking it. So again, you're able to keep prompting and using these tools to get what you want. Now, to get over to the paid features, you can look at Gemini Gems. So these are like the custom GPTs. So it's very similar to custom GPTs. There's just not a marketplace yet for these. So it's a very one-on-one feel. So like it's whatever you make. They have like some of these, but they're made by Google. It's not like I can go out and find one that somebody else made to like create the logo. Like if Google didn't make it, it's not out there yet. I would anticipate, because everybody's got to keep up with everybody else, that they'll have some sort of marketplace that they'll put these gems. But for right now, it's a one-on-one situation. So like, here's the workshop description generator. So I can do the same thing, say 3D printing, and it does the exact same thing as what ChatGPT did. So you still get those gems. They're really slick. I mean, they've made my life very easy, and I'm doing a lot of different complex tasks. But so that's kind of an apples to apples comparison there. The only difference is the sharing component. Like that's just you that gets these. And I want to wrap with kind of one of the biggest benefits of Gemini Alpha, and that is, I think, Kelsey, we could do a whole session on Notebook LM, and I would be totally down. Like, I mean, it is my favorite tool to use. And you get the plus version when you have Gemini Advanced. The free version allows you to create what are called notebooks. The difference is this is you creating essentially like the GPT or like a gem, but you are in control of the sources that it draws from. So you create the large language model, or in this case, the small language model. So I do 3D printing workshops. I have all of these sources over here, everything from websites, from Elegoo's web page to support documents, on bamboo printers to YouTube videos breaking down 3D printers, a specific 3D printer. And then when I ask it a question, it's only answering the question based on the information in my sources. So it's not going out to its larger language models. It's only using the stuff that I gave it to answer the question. So you know you're getting the right answer. And that's really, really powerful. Now, the reason why Plus is better than the free version is that your sources go from 50 to 300. So you can upload over 300, you can upload up to 300 sources, and it's PDFs, text files, markdown files, MP3 files, Google Docs, Google Slides, websites, YouTube videos, and you can just copy and paste text in there. And it all becomes the source that you ask questions to. So if you also get a podcast that gets generated between two hosts that are AI generated voices talking about the content that you uploaded.
All right, so today we're diving into 3D printing.
It's crazy. And if you do that in the free version, I think you only get like 3 audio generations a day. But in the paid version, you get like 220, I think, or something along those lines. So getting access to Notebook LM Plus is a pretty big deal as a part of Gemini. So really cool stuff. My kind of, as we get in here to the last couple of minutes, I'll hit on Claude just real quick. The biggest thing is, again, we've talked about it a little bit, but like you just get more, you get it faster, you get it a little bit, you get more, you get the more data, the more tokens and everything like that. So you get those larger context windows. It's very nuanced. Like that's the thing. Claude is very nuanced. Like I follow some people in academia, they love Claude because of that. So if you're interested, check out Claude. My final thought, it depends. I don't know. Like, like it's just they're so good. Like they're all really good. It just depends on what you need, right? Like what's your job? If you're in the more of the STEM field, coding field, ChatGPT. If you're in a Google ecosystem, I think Gemini is probably your thing. If you are in a Microsoft ecosystem, Copilot's your thing, right? So it's ultimately, it kind of depends. ChatGPT kind of has the most stuff right now, I would say, but Gemini's coming. Like it's coming. And Claude is really responsible, too at use. So yeah, it's complex, but it's fun. So, and it's all going to be different. I could do this webinar next week.
It's true. It could be a whole different thing.
And it might be different. So yeah.
And who knows, the prices might even be changed by next week. Well, thank you, Ben, for all the expertise and information. And I know people might have some questions, so I encourage you to hang out and ask those questions if you're wanting to.
Yeah, please do.
I have a question.
Sure.
There are a lot of third-party products that are built on AI for specific, business or personal applications.
Yes.
And I'm wondering what are the advantages of using a third-party product that's been well-tuned to the kind of tasks you want it to do versus, going out and using the generic AI tools?
It's a great question. So one of the ways that I think you could kind of look at that is like, it's almost, I would say, let me kind of think if I can phrase this right. So it would be like, do you want to hire like the Best Buy Geek Squad to be your tech support? Or do you want to hire the guy that, like your neighbor who's like, he went to the technical school, he's got a computer science degree, like he's able to do like all the things, but he's a smaller business, right? Where like Best Buy's like, that's like OpenAI. That's going to be like Gemini, right? Like they're bigger. They have
No, I don't think, I'm sorry, that's not getting at my question. My question is that there are third parties, and some of them are quite large, that if you want to integrate AI into your bookkeeping or your budgeting or your financial planning
No,
or
I was
you know,
getting there.
but what are the advantages of that versus doing it yourself? That's what I'm asking.
The expertise. So that's what I was ultimately getting at. Like if you go with like a company that's like trained on that, like they are the accounting AI firm. Like their expertise is that they have focused in and funneled in on making the AI work for accounting, right?
Mhm.
If you go out and you use ChatGPT, it can help you with that, but it's like the big box store. Like it's also good at all the other stuff, but it's not focused in on the accounting portion of that, right? So if you use a third party, they're actually probably using OpenAI and ChatGPT as their foundation, but they've trained it to be very hyper specific in that world, right?
Mhm.
So then it becomes that more. So that's why I was like saying like the smaller business guy. So like you hire the guy next door who's really good at that one thing because that's his thing. But if you hire Best Buy, like you're gonna get like Joe, and then you're gonna get Bill, and you're gonna get Ben when you need tech support. But like if you hire the guy next door, it's gonna be good. The problem is, even if they're a big company, like if you focus in on them, they could be gone tomorrow. Like like they might not exist anymore. Like that, they could run out of money. They could shut down. Whereas like Best Buy's gonna be there,
Yeah,
So
Best Buy's going to be there, but then you have to consider how much of their technical advice is steering you to buy products that they sell.
100%.
Things,
Yep.
you know,
Yep. Yeah. And that's kind of fitting in exactly in the analogy, right? Like you go with the more hyper focused third party, like you might get a better result, like you might get better product. You just have to, like, I actually deal with this in education all the time. We have a lot of education specific AI tools and they're awesome, but I don't know, like you can't predict if they're going to be around, next year. So like I tell schools, like don't sign a 5-year contract with that brand new startup, even though it's hyper specific to education. Like it's not like OpenAI just got an investment of like $500 billion. So like ChatGPT is not going anywhere, but the hyper specific tool is going to be maybe better to use, so like you can, I guess like that's the thing, right? It's like you go with the big box
Concerns
versus
about security, Ben? Like when you're talking about security, I mean, third party that they are putting into ChatGPT or something, but like they're not protecting your data as it gets there.
definitely a conversation you would have to have with that company. Like who's using this information then that I'm giving you, right? Like, what are you doing with it? That's another kind of, it's all a fear with all the tools, but yeah, no, it's a really good question. Like it's nice to have those tailored AI tools, as long as the company's trustworthy and they're using your data responsibly. But they can be the best bet because then you don't have to learn how to prompt it and build all the stuff out yourself, because they've already done it for you. So yeah, it's a really good question.
That help, Margaret?
yeah.
Awesome. Any other questions you guys have at all? Well, then I will just say thank you, Ben, and I encourage you to keep thinking on questions that might be helpful for us to dig deeper into, or tools that you might want more nuance on. I think, as we know, things keep changing, and we're just going to keep trying to find more ways to make sure that you have as much education as you want on these topics.
We could do it all again tomorrow.
And you're lovely to have, so it's always fun. Thank you guys for attending. I wish you a great afternoon.